Alright guys, I wanted to give you another update on these little 3.5 nano bowls. Some good stuff, some not so good stuff, and what we're learning as we go through this project. One thing I want to say, based on some of the comments and questions people asked me, I'm not an expert in this, and I have never done tanks before that were zero filtration, and we'll see how that works out long term. Who knows, one day I might blow these guys up and just use some of the plants we've grown in them and decide that these are better with air plants in them as terrariums. I don't know. But right now I'm really enjoying them, and that's part of the hobby. So whenever I tell you anything, it's my opinion and what I've observed so far. It's not authority-based because this is not something I consider myself an authority on. It's just somebody for fun. But this bowl is banging pretty good on us now. That Rotala indica is doing really well, and it's probably about time to cut those and re-stick them somewhere. I want to make that really heavy ground cover with that stuff. The pearlweed is growing really good, but it's mostly growing up. I'm not getting any spreading action yet. I'll let it get a little higher. I'll cut it and I'll re-stick it. We'll see how that goes. I don't know if I'll be able to get it to carpet in this tank without any kind of CO2 or anything. We'll see, though I am pretty amazed by this CaribSea substrate, what it does for plants. Vallisneria, as you would expect, doing really good back there. I got a couple leaves on that Vallisneria plant there that came out of a tank that had some algae issues. And I probably should just cut those leaves off and get them out of there because they do have some algae on them, though the shrimp are doing a real good job of controlling it everywhere but up here in this one spot. We're getting a little bit on the side. This other tank we'll get to in a second got some significant, I wouldn't say syrup, but significant algae growing on the side there. Otherwise, everything's doing really good. That rock back there is staying clear of algae. That's always nice. I don't have any real algae blowups anywhere. I had some Ludwiga in this plant right about where Mr. Shrimp is there. And it just was, I've not gotten Ludwiga to grow good for me anywhere. And when plants are lethargic and not growing like this, it's like an imitation algae. So I pulled those out this weekend and just tossed them in with the compost for the ducks. So that's kind of where this tank's at. Shrimp are doing good. Haven't lost any in either tank yet. This weekend, I took the, on Saturday, I took the cover on the top of this down to about 10%. It's almost back to 100% in 3 days. So, that top growth is fast, and it requires a lot of maintenance from me, but it doesn't take very long to come in here once in a while with a bucket and take some of that off and feed it to the birds because the ducks love it. And it's doing a lot of good with handling nutrient in this tank. This other tank, got two things going on, and I think they're in some way related. Number one, it still looks very cloudy, but it looks far less cloudy than it did. This thing looked like a clouded world, like, gone to doom a few days ago. And I've heard people talk about having this CaribSea Eco Complete cloud up on them and take a few days to clear. I did a couple of water changes. I'll probably do another one tomorrow on it. The plants are doing great. The shrimp are doing great. But we got some algae growth. Now, one of the things I've learned, and just never having kept fish in a bowl in my life, is that one of the real advantages to a straight tank is being able to clean the sides really easily. I got a little round magnet thing coming that's designed for bowls to clean off this algae. I'm sure that'll help. And I can tell that we're well on our way to getting clear here. Another thing that's interesting, remember that Amazon sword? Look at that leaf change, just like the other tank. If you go back and look at the earlier videos, it was really kind of unhappy looking. And you can see now in 2 weeks, you'd think we were running CO2 in here with a leaf form change like that. Pearlweed doing good in here. Rotala indica doing pretty good in here. The ambula has grown all the way in 2 weeks from a little bitty sprig to the top of the tank. It's about time to cut it. But what I'm actually really happy about is you see that right there, it's kind of right there, one has come up out of the root system. It's a smaller form. That's generally what happens. Your first one gets real big, and then it starts, kind of bushing out, and your bush is more small leaf form, which I think will be nicer in here. So I'll probably prune that. I might stick it in another tank somewhere. I might just discard it. But this stuff is pretty bulletproof. Really like that plant. Did a whole video on it earlier. So that's where we're at there. I think this will clear up. Again, I've heard people say the CaribSea Eco Complete will cloud up for a couple days and then clear out when you first set it up. It was not what happened here. I got a little bit of that cloudy, smoky stuff we talked about in the last episode, and it wasn't no big deal, and that's all it did. When I set it up in my 55, it didn't cloud at all, but this thing went mega cloudy. Yesterday, I set up a 12.1 gallon rimless Nano. that the company sent to me when I ordered this guy. We'll talk about here in a second, by mistake. And set it up with CaribSea. Really loved the aquascape I did too. Thought it just looked so pretty. Went to bed, just tossed a couple of grass shrimp and some snails in it to get it going. And went to bed, got up, and it was way cloudier than this. So that's the second one that did exactly what people say. So we'll see how long that takes to play out. But a week even of cloudiness to get what this substrate does for you, I'm totally okay with that. Again, the leaf form, you can see like those leaves right there haven't really started to change yet. And those center leaves, we've already got new leaf growth, turn to that nice, beautiful, shape that you want out of a sword. So that's where we're at today. I do want you guys to know too, again, not an authority, just my experience with this, but I am documenting it. I'm taking a picture of each bowl every Tuesday, and probably when I get about 3 months worth of those, I'll put them into kind of a fading slideshow with some clips and some other things that I've learned along the way. But there we go with that. Now let's talk about this beautiful little tank here. This is the tank I ordered from Marine Depot. And I ordered this tank, $99 with a $10 discount code. It's made by AquaMaxx, and I think AquaMaxx just makes beautiful little nano tanks, just gorgeous. And of course, it's still got the plastic wrap on it, and I got stuff to do before I set it up. But they accidentally sent me a 12.1 that I put out a video with yesterday with the filter system for it. But I bought this tank for here for a reason. It's 4 inches longer than a 10-gallon tank. It's a 9.1 gallon tank, so 1 gallon less water. But it's 4 inches longer, 24 versus 20 inches. It's about the same amount deep, but the height, so it takes a longer dimension, but it brings the height down 2 inches. Which means that I can actually get my hand in here when I have it in this rack and work on it. So long term, there'll probably be a second one. I really like that. And as a guy that likes to aquascape, a low tank has less water to drive your light through. Additionally, when you go 4 inches more and you add, your 10 inches that way, you get 32 more square inches, 32 square inches more of floor space to aquascape. That's a lot. That's a lot more plants. That's a lot more room to play with. And I'm glad to give up a gallon of water for that. This is such an odd shape that I needed to be low for that I actually thought about custom building or ordering a custom built tank for this spot. And I mean, you can't do much better. What could you be? An inch longer, maybe a 25-inch length. So, I mean, this is almost like so $100 is kind of expensive on a tank, considering a stock 10 gallons is about $10 to $15, depending on where and when you buy it. But boy, I'll tell you what, there they are over there. They don't pop like that. That's a Phoenix Stingray mounted up in the canopy there. And this should turn into a beautiful tank. I don't know how quick I'm going to get on the build here, guys, because I'm in the middle of a setup on the 12.1. But that's where we're at so far. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Long term, I wouldn't be surprised if long term, after I learn what I want to learn from these bowls, that maybe, like I said, they go away and they end up with air plants in them, the little terrariums or something like that somewhere else. And it could happen that there'd be 3 of these, maybe even 4 of these there. It's just, man, you look at that and that just has so much potential. I think we'll have a lot of fun with them together. Anyway, guys, if you like this sort of thing and all the other cool stuff I do, from aquaponics to permaculture to gardening, even we talk about guns sometimes and stuff like that, subscribe, man. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell so you'll be notified, and join in on the fun. If you like what I'm doing here, you might like my podcast. About 200,000 people a day listen to it. It's called the Survival Podcast. You can find it at tspc.co. Yep, tspc.co. You don't have to do com.co. It really works. All the cool kids are putting it in their phone. You stick it in yours too and see if it works. I bet you it does.